Yeah.
I'm going to,
Case competition. At this time, we ask that all of you turn off cellular telephones and any other mobile devices. As a courtesy to the presenters, please do not leave until both the presentation and the question and answer session are complete. Also, please note that recording of the presentation is strictly prohibited except by competition organizers and by representatives of the presenting team. The first team presenting today is from Carleton University in Ottawa, Canada. The presentation will last a maximum of 20 minutes. I will signal to the presenters when there are 10, 5, 3, and 1 minute left. Team members, please nod after seeing each sign to confirm that you have seen it. You must stop when I indicate that the time is up, even if you are not finished. After the presentation, the judging panel will have 10 minutes to ask questions. I will signal to the presenters and the judges when there are 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and 1 minute remaining. Once again, you must stop when time is up, even if you are not finished. I now invite each member of our judging panel to introduce themselves.
I'm Denny Ware.
I'm Mike Novak.
And I'm Bruce Floor.
My name is Doug Smith.
I'm Lisa Friel.
And Prasad Padmanabhan.
The team will now begin their presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and executives of Kent Chemical Products. Your company has established an internationally renowned company and services that are renowned for its quality and innovation. However, a lot of your products have become commoditized, and you're competing very intensively through prices. It is crucial that the strategy that you currently have that tailors to local needs is globalized, and that your company as a whole establishes a globalized strategy. We believe that the best way for you to do this is by focusing on different industries and ensuring that your resources are being shared and that your R&D is being shared amongst regions to maximize economies of scale. My name is Isabella, and these are my colleagues Alejandro, Michael, and Karen, and we are Everest Consulting. So right now we want to look at where your company stands. Your main challenge as a firm is restructuring your organization according to varying regional differences to ensure a globalized strategy. There are some key barriers that are preventing you from getting here, and these are the lack of interaction between the functions that you currently have, the different industries, and the regions. Next, employee resistance. You have a lot of resistance among employees to all the changes, and the fact that you've created so many changes in your organizational structure, is only maximizing this. Finally, there is a disconnect between the local and regional strategies that you currently have. So we conducted some analysis for you that led us to our decision for your company, and so we will begin with the industry.
Now, in looking at the industry that you currently operate within, we can see two main opportunities. The first one being the fact that there is a large growth within the industry you're currently working within, especially within that fire retardants line. In addition to this, there is that change in consumer preference that requires you to have research and development and increased manufacturing capacity. However, we did identify some threats. The first one being the fact that there are those varying regulations between different regions in which you operate within. The second one is that there is increased price competition. As Isabella alluded to previously, this is a commodity good industry. Therefore, the main takeaway from this is the fact that you need to cut your costs down through sharing of research and development as well as manufacturing.
And with the market segments that Chemicals currently sells to, you have 3 different market segments who all involve varying levels of regional, local, or global integration. Your first division in consumer products, like your Grease Be Gone product, requires very deep local roots for marketing and sales efforts to be effective. Moving on to your medical plastics, you have few limited global accounts of very large size, and with fire control or fire retardant products, that's an industry that has many regional, national, and global clients, but also has a high-level R&D that provides the products to all those two different segments. But between the medical plastics segment and between the fire retardant segment, those can be leveraged through high-level R&D, but national, regional sales and marketing efforts. So the key takeaway is that each segment requires different levels of marketing or sales integration. However, manufacturing and R&D can be shared and localized or globalized.
Through an internal analysis, we've determined the key factors that are holding KCP from fully leveraging those international operations and obtaining those economies of scale. So right now, KCP is a global organization operating with local strategies. There's shrinking gross margins as they are unable to obtain those efficiencies amongst their international markets. And there's bottleneck productions happening due to that lack of knowledge sharing. However, we believe that leveraging the strong product development and innovation capabilities of KCP will be really important going forward, and the support from the current CEO, as he has a global strategy, will need to be taken advantage of. The current value proposition is to offer innovative chemical products customized for local needs. However, going forward, KCP must leverage that CEO's global strategy to share knowledge as well as resources to create those economies of scale that will help improve those international operations.
So as we see here, this is your current organizational structure. One of the key things that we see as an opportunity for you to take over the entire KCI region is the fact that in the US, you're broken up by industry. A lot of industries, again, because you're a commodity, a lot of industries are becoming commoditized, share the same things across regions. The only thing that needs to be changed region to region are tailoring to local legislation and to legislative requirements. So we see right now that there is a bottleneck in the KCI because this one person is making all of the decisions for all of the regions, and each region has the responsibility of every single industry. The regional directors are also not allowing that sharing of resources. Again, because the industries can share resources, your current model is based solely on region, not on the industry. We want to see that change in the future so that you can leverage those economies of scale. Finally, there is no respect for the GBDs, and this is a huge problem because this goes back to your management resistance that is creating so much tension from a human resources perspective in your company. So we do believe that the appropriate structure accommodates, in the US, accommodates for these differences in industries, and we want to see this carried out globally to all the regions, just with regional directors under each segment that will allow that accommodation of regional differences.
So just to summarize the analysis that we have provided for you here today. Currently, your company is a successful global operations. However, we see an influx in competitors being able to compete on price, and therefore we would like to see you in the future becoming a global company that shares your resources and strategies to accommodate for this threat. What's holding you back currently are the three main barriers that we've identified previously. The first one being that interaction between functions is limited. The second is that employee resistance due to all those organizational changes. And then finally, that disconnect between your global and local strategies. Moving forward, we believe that the best strategy for you to accommodate for these barriers is to consolidate KCI and KCP to divide your products based on products opposed to regions. But to walk you through our process of why we believe that this is the best solution for you here today is we'll walk you through our entire process of analysis. So first, we've identified 4 key strategic priorities that help you alleviate 3 barriers we've identified today. The first one being the transparency between your functions and regions. We want to see more communication between these 2 organizations. Second is the reduction of redundancies. Since there are some products that have the same type of manufacturing, we want to make sure that you can reduce those redundancies by collaborating between KCI and KCP. Thirdly, employee morale. Your employees are key to the success of your operations. Therefore, we want to make sure any type of change is going to make the less impact on your employees. And then finally, increasing profit margins. Now, based on this, we've identified 3 alternatives for you. However, we are suggesting that you go with the consolidation solution.
So the first alternative that you can explore at 10 Chemicals is to divide your company into 2 different operations. The first one would be a subsidiary focusing on consumer products because of the varying needs and regulations The advantage of this is that it allows the consumer department to better focus on local needs at a bottom level between different regions and countries. However, it limits the joint art research and development capabilities as a whole company because now it's divided up into two. And it reduces the employee morale through a restructure that would cut lines through existing harmonies existing organization. And finally, it reduces the economies of scale that you currently can leverage by keeping all three segments together.
The next alternative that we explored was something that the consultants that you hired suggested, and this was a decision matrix where you'd implement the decision that they suggested to you of having regional and industry-specific sectors. The key thing here that we considered was that this was a little bit too complex to implement without having a large influx of your employees leaving the company, because there's already so much uncertainty within your firm that this would just maximize this and make it even worse. The great thing about this is that it would promote communications. However, we believe that the strategy that we're going to suggest to you takes all of the key aspects of this that are beneficial, but gets rid of the redundancies and the complexities that this alternative was suggested to you.
The third and final alternative, which we will be recommending, is the consolidation of KCI and KCP to create one global organization as a single entity. This will also involve redesigning the current organizational structure to segment it based on product as opposed to region. The benefits of this strategy will be the economies of scale created within each industry, the increased communication amongst the various regions, as well as the clear global organizational strategy that all employees will be able to see.
So bringing it back to those strategic priorities that we outlined for you, we kept all of these in mind when we outweighed all the benefits and the negatives of each alternative. And as you can see here, it's very clear that the consolidation strategy meets every single one of these most effectively. So what will this really entail in terms of changes to your organizational structure? First of all, you're looking at making Kent Chemical products all under one umbrella as opposed to having just the US and then your international operations separately. We want to see the US fall under the umbrella as any of the other regions. We're going to separate it by industry so that you can share the resources and the R&D across industries, because the main thing here is that there is some spillover irregardless of what region you're operating in because of the commoditization of some of these goods. However, below that, we do recognize the importance of having that local tailoring of the products so that they meet the legislative and consumer needs. So we will have representatives and directors for each of their regions under each industry so that these can still be met. However, each industry will be sharing R&D, manufacturing, and the supply chain so that you can reduce your costs as much as possible and get those margins up.
So with the operations, we told you that you're currently lacking the synergy between your manufacturing because of the silo and manufacturing collaboration between sales to R&D. So how do we plan to improve that? Well, it's going to begin by consolidating your industry manufacturing per segment as we decided, as we told you about, as well as the R&D to the top level that will eventually filter down to local sales and marketing. Regional sales offices will be created to achieve that low-level consumer reach and B2B reach in each segment. And segment, we will introduce a enterprise resource planning system per each segment. So each segment will have its own enterprise resource planning system that will allow you to leverage the economies of scale and allow you to make sure that collaboration begins to happen. So it's going to begin with identifying which ERP system you think at Kent Chemicals will be the best to implement based on your very unique industries. Implementation and testing will follow. And then the global procurement is where you can start to leverage and harness the power of those industry and segment-specific ERP systems to allow you to procure as a company based on your manufacturing sites that differ from France all the way to Germany. So then those local sales offices will start to be open in areas where you're not present. And then the new manufacturing roles will start to be adopted based on any changeover in capacity that you will see. And finally, we will like you to implement monthly town halls for the R&D team so we can make sure that your team at R&D can share learnings across the three different segments.
Secondly, we talked a lot about your employees and improving that employee morale. Essentially, the goal here is we want to make sure that you can retain your employees and that they know exactly what their roles are within the organization, so there isn't as much pushback when we propose this new reorg. So the first thing that comprises of this plan is to have clear job employee one-on-one consultations to understand exactly where these key employees want to go and where they see their future aspirations. The goal here is to ensure that when you are performing that reorganization, you allow them to identify what their key skills are and you can fit them in the proper position. Second is the realignment of key staff into that new organizational structure to ensure that the competencies within your organization are still there. The next big task is to provide those additional incentive programs as well as opportunities within their jobs. This comprises of changing your compensation package to include a global incentive program. Basically, the benefits that your employees will get are based on the global performance opposed to their regional. The purpose of this is to ensure that everyone is on board and aligned with the global approach of your company. Second is the rotational program and secondment opportunities. So what we mean here is that we want to make sure that the different markets aren't segmented. So Americas as well as places in Europe have that opportunity to have key staff rotate between those positions to make sure that everyone understands the positions in each of these regions. And then finally, the champion program for change. Since there has been a lot of change in your structure, we want to make sure that there are subject matter experts who clearly understand each job and their description. These people can then have meetings and discussions with the rest of their colleagues to ensure that they're on board with the change as well.
Now, Karen just threw a lot at you, so we want to talk about how we're going to actually make this tangible and implementable. The key actions are going to be primarily relocating those employees to ensure that you can establish this new organizational structure. It's eliminating those redundancies that you currently have to maximize those economies of scale and bring down those costs. And finally, it's creating communication programs, training programs, and change management programs to cushion yourself against that setback and that pushback that you'll get from your employees when this isn't instated. So the first thing is you're going to be conducting internal resource audit just to make sure where people are going to fit. And this will go hand in hand with the employee one-on-one consultations, as you will give your employees a say on where they see their future in the company and where they want to be a part of. You'll also be looking at creating severance and relocation packages, as you will be moving a lot of people around. And you're looking at also eliminating those redundancies again that I mentioned. Another key thing here is that bonus program that Karen mentioned, and it's the fact that the bonuses are now going to be based on the performance of the industry portfolio that you have. And that means that all of the different industries and all of the different, regions under each of the portfolios, their bonus is going to be based on the overall performance, which means there will be an incentive for them and all the regions to work together to maximize this economies of scale.
With this graph, we can see the clear implications to operating margins that have taken place due to the growth in international sales. So the current organizational structure has not allowed KCP to take advantage of those economies of scales and has actually resulted in lower profit margins as the international sales have grown. Going forward, we believe that through this implementation, KCP will be able to return to the operating margin that it operated with as of 2005, before operations became too international. And we see this creating $469 million of profits before non-operating costs are taken into effect. As well, we see this increasing your gross margin back to 30% and reducing your R&D expenses as a percentage of revenues to 17% from the current 18.32% due to that knowledge sharing and that sharing of resources. So this is a margin projection, and here we see by 2010 margins returning back to historical averages, as well as the gross margin returning back to its historic 30%. And this is a budget outlining the costs of the implementation of the solution, which will be further discussed in question period.
So to mitigate a few of the risks that you may encounter in chem chemicals with the strategy, the first one is employee resistance to organizational change. And it is a big change, so we believe that the incentive program, as well as the change management approach to fully understand each employee's needs through our one-on-one counseling, one-on-one conversation will help with that change. Secondly, that in case the model of segment-based operations fails to create collaboration, the rotational placements should help with that, as well as production plants to accommodate create a buffer zone if any capacity is lost.
Now, we've gone through a lot today, but essentially the main challenge that your company faces is the fact that you are in an industry with commodity goods, with increased competition that are competing on cutting costs. Your main solution for this is to share your R&D resources as well as manufacturing and sales team to lower down your costs. We suggest this by going towards the reorganizational structure that we have provided for you today, as well as having that change management process in place for your employees. Now, in order to measure your success, we believe that the best way to do this is to accommodate for these four main key performance indicators. So the first one being the clear roles and decision making. With the new identification of that one-on-one consultation and change management program, we see you able to provide your employees with that clear job description and exactly how they fit within the organization. Two is to increase your gross margins to 30%. Thirdly is to have that 75% satisfaction in employee feedback. This will be done through those regular town hall meetings and the change management program. And then finally, increasing your operating profit margins to 13%. Now, with this, we do believe that you have the opportunity to be sustainable and competitive within this industry, and we would like to take this time to thank you and welcome any questions.
Judge's presentation was 19 minutes and 52 seconds, and you now have 10 minutes for questions and answers.
I'd like to ask the first question. Would you clarify for me, please, that whose roles and responsibilities are involved in making product development decisions? And how do you allocate that between the sales and marketing and the central division management?
It's a good question. The difference lies between consumer products, so the cleaning products, where more of the decisions will come down to the lower marketing and sales teams because there's less high expense R&D happening there. And we believe that because of standardization that you see in the fire retardant and in the medical industry, the medical plastic industry, that high degree of standardization in those two segments requires those product development decisions to be made at the research and development level. Because what the customers are buying in those two industries is based off technology, innovation, and standardizations.
I have a question concerning the way you evaluated the 3 lines of business. I'm not hearing anything about the possibility of, say, selling one of the divisions as another solution. Why did you avoid that as a possible alternative?
We avoided it because we don't see that being the root of your problem. We think that the products that you've been so innovative with and that you've produced are the reason why you've been such a successful company. So we don't want to see you actually divesting any of your product lines. We just want to see you tailoring your strategy so that you can maximize their potential. So again, the problem is not the product itself, it's how you're producing at the back end, and we think that by fixing that, you won't see any problems and you won't have that need to divest on phenomenal products.
Well, then a follow-up question on that. I saw you had big increases in R&D as you projected forward. Didn't see anything about expenses for consolidating manufacturing facilities to introduce greater efficiencies.
In terms of actually consolidating the cost for this, so Karen?
Manufacturing costs.
Right, so we actually put this into the budget. Already you do have one of your primary research and R&D centers and manufacturing happens within the US in Ohio. So a lot of it would just be putting all of the spread out regions into this. We don't believe that it'll cost very much, but however, we do have manufacturing adjustments at 4.5 million, as there will be some minor costs.
You're budgeting $15 million for all this process. Where's that money going to come from, given that the economy is tanking and Kent is right in the middle of it?
So the money for these projects will come from the current profit margins. You guys are still operating with positive cash flows. And we believe that, sorry, could you go back to the... So in 2007, you guys were operating with $128 million worth of operating income. We believe that 15 million, being around 10%-ish, is not going to impact you significantly in the short term.
Yeah, you think that's a big enough risk because market is, for industry is going down in terms of revenue and you are making major changes. So wouldn't that be a major cost consideration?
So yes, it's a major cost consideration, but we believe that by implementing this, you will be able to increase your margins going forward, and you will actually free up more cash flows to operate with less risk and more liquidity.
Yeah, I'm just wondering too, though, you're proposing major changes. And I think a lot of them should be well considered. But from the standpoint of your projections, I mean, you're going to create massive turmoil all around the world. And you've got a little bit of money in there to handle this, that, and the other thing in terms of allocation, severance packages and things like that. But given the fact that you're actually going to increase uncertainty in the short term, there's going to be a lot of people leaving, including some people who probably are key. Have you sort of factored in